Today, we are digging deep into one of history's greatest, and I mean greatest, vanishing acts. We're talking about the story of the Indus Valley Civilization, an entire empire that, well, history just plain forgot. I want you to really think about this for a second. Imagine a civilization, vast, sophisticated, building these incredible cities, trading across continents, and then just poof, wiped from human memory for thousands and thousands of years. I promise you, this is not science fiction. This is the real story we're unearthing today. So you have to ask, how does something so massive just get lost? For millennia, the story of this civilization wasn't just unknown. It was as if it never even happened. I mean, their huge cities were nothing more than mysterious hills of dirt. Their unique writing was a code nobody could crack. And their people, a complete and total blank in the history books. It was like a ghost empire, hiding right under everyone's noses. Now, the rediscovery didn't happen overnight. Oh no, it was more like a slow burn detective story, starting with a few really strange clues that just didn't seem to fit anywhere in the known history of India. And what's wild when you look at this timeline is just how much time passed between each clue. It all kicks off way back in 1826. An engineer, Charles Masón, just stumbles on this big mound at Harappa. Then decades, literally decades later, the archaeologist Alexander Cunningham starts sticking around. He finds these fascinating artifacts, these seals, but he's completely stumped. He just can't place them in any known historical period. The puzzle pieces were right there, but nobody could see the bigger picture. Not yet. It actually took another half-century before someone finally connected all the dots. And when they did, it led to a revelation that would completely rewrite our understanding of the ancient world. This was the moment, the breakthrough. Sir John Marshall, who was the head of archaeology, saw finds from two totally different sites, Harappa and another called Mohenjo-Daro, and he realized they were part of the same culture. This wasn't just some lost town. This was a vast, unified, and completely unknown civilization. He's the one who gave it the name we still use, the Indus Valley Civilization. So what had they actually found? Well, it was a Bronze Age society, meaning they were masters of metalworking. And it's called proto-historic for a really fascinating reason. They had a writing system, but we still can't read it. That is such a crucial point. Everything we know about them comes from the things they left behind, not from their own words. And they were around for a long time, flourishing for an incredible 1,500 years, between about 3000 and 1500 BC. And just to put this into perspective for you, while the Egyptians were busy building the pyramids and the Mesopotamians were inventing writing in the Fertile Crescent, the people of the Indus Valley were building their own massive, highly organized cities right there in the Indian subcontinent. This wasn't some minor league culture. It was one of the three great early civilizations on the planet. You know, once archaeologists finally knew what they were looking for, the true scale of this forgotten world started to come into focus. And honestly, it's staggering. Let's just take a look at the map and see how huge this thing really was. Okay, so from its most northern point at Manda, in what's now Jammu and Kashmir, all the way down to its southern edge at Daimabad, we're talking a stretch of 1,100 kilometers. That is a massive distance, even by today's standards. But wait, it gets even bigger. From west to east, it spanned 1,600 kilometers. That's from the Pakistan-Iran border all the way over to modern Uttar Pradesh. We're talking about an absolutely colossal area of influence. Let's be really clear about what these numbers mean. The Indus Valley Civilization, when you map out its boundaries, was larger than ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia combined. That's mind-boggling. This wasn't just a kingdom. It was an entire world, all unified by a shared culture. Okay, so we know when they lived, we know where they lived, but who were these people? What was their society like? Archaeologists call them the Harappans, named after that first city that was discovered, and their whole culture was unique in a lot of really interesting ways. Their entire culture really stood on four main pillars. First, they were incredibly urban. They built huge, well-planned cities. Second, their society seems to have grown organically, right from local farming communities. Third, just like their famous contemporaries, they were a riverine civilization, thriving along the banks of mighty rivers. And finally, their success was built on amazing craftsmanship and a surplus of food, which is what let those incredible cities grow and prosper. They also had their own pictographic script, which is still one of history's great unsolved mysteries. But what we do know is how they wrote it, in this really unique style called boustrophedon. So, as you can see here, they'd write the first line from right to left, and then, for the next line, they'd switch directions and write from left to right, back and forth, like an ox plowing a field. Now, even though the civilization was unified, it wasn't all the same, and you can see this so clearly in their pottery. In the Sindh region, for instance, you find this beautiful Jukkar pottery with its classic red slip and black paintings. But then you go to other regions, like Punjab or Gujarat, and they've developed their own unique styles, like the ochre-colored pottery or the lustrous redware. It just goes to show you how rich and diverse their culture was across this huge area. But you know what's really fascinating? It's what they didn't build. When you think of the grand temples in Egypt or the palaces of Mesopotamia, Harappan buildings are surprisingly simple. As you can see here, things like glazed tiles, frescoes, fancy decorated doorways, they're just not there. These people were practical, functional builders. And that focus on utility over flashy decoration, well, it hints at a very different kind of society, maybe one that wasn't so focused on powerful kings and warfare. The truth is, even after 100 years of digging, the Indus Valley Civilization is still wrapped in mystery. We found their amazing cities, but so many questions about who they were and what happened to them, they're still totally unanswered. But what we do know for sure is the incredible scale of their cities. This chart just gives you an idea of the relative sizes of the biggest ones we found. At the very top, you've got Rocky Hari, followed by the famous Mohenjo-Daro. And let's be clear, these weren't just towns, they were sprawling metropolises, some of the largest cities anywhere in the ancient world at the time. And what's really important to note for us today is that within the borders of modern India, the largest of all these ancient cities is Rakhigarhi, with the absolutely stunning site of Dholavira in Gujarat being another major hub. These places are most direct, tangible links to this incredible lost world. So we kind of end up right back where we started, with a huge question. Here is a civilization that built some of the ancient world's most advanced cities, but seemingly without any kings or palaces. A people who controlled a massive territory, but left behind very few weapons or signs of an army. A complex society that thrived for 1,500 years and then just vanished, leaving their greatest secrets totally undeciphered. The ultimate question is still hanging in the air. Who were they, really?